I'm Tricia Perry for Vision of the Valley. Thousands have passed this little building on the bend in Raccoon Road in Austintown. What was once an eyesore for this community, though, the little Austin log cabin, has inspired passionate efforts and a great collection of artifacts right inside. Hello?
Hi there.
I didn't knock. I just walked in.
No. Welcome to the Austin Log Cabin. Over here we have a picture of what the Austin Log Cabin looked like in 1973 when it was discovered to be a log cabin.
Oh my goodness.
And if you look real close at it, you can see that over here's the wood that covered cabin, and then the artificial brick.
Wow.
And this is quite similar to the artificial brick.
Yeah, I don't even know what you call that, but in here, this lovely article that calls it an eyesore.
Yes. And over here, even when they started taking it down, you see how they found the logs?
So tell me, what else do we have to see here? Because now it looks like a lovely, cozy log cabin.
It is a lovely, cozy log cabin. When it was discovered to be a log cabin, we didn't have a fireplace.
Ah. So this is not original to the building?
No, that is not original to the building.
How would they have heated it then? Did it have
That's it. How would they heat it? And we had archaeologists and architectural people come over and said this is probably where it was. And the brick that you see that makes the fireplace.
This brick here?
Yes, and outside the big chimney and the sidewalk is from a schoolhouse that was being torn down in Salem. And our Boy Scouts went over to Salem Sunday after Sunday with their dads and brought all this cement home.
So there was a fireplace here,
home.
But at some point it had been covered up and gotten rid of. So
gone. Mm-hmm.
A lot of people who have driven down Raccoon Road have seen this little log cabin sitting on the bend and wondered, what is that? How do you describe this to people?
The Austintown Historical Society, we have worked diligently to keep this very primitive, so that when you come inside, you say, oh, this is what a log cabin looked like. And it's amazing. It just makes you feel so good inside, and at least me.
Sure. This was someone's log cabin in 1814?
Yes. In 1973, St. Andrew's Church, the big church next door, bought the property to tear it down because there were no windows and doors and it was a nice eyesore. So when they started to tear it down, they found out it was a log cabin and they stopped. And then that's when the community got together. And we realized it was a log cabin, and we realized that the deed said Calvin Austin sold this property to John Packard in 1814. Well, the two things that people would look for when they were going to settle somewhere was lots of trees and water, which we had a lot of trees here, and we have a little stream between St. Andrews and this log cabin. And so then we knew that they probably built this log cabin in 1814, found it and built it, and they bought the property from, as I said, Calvin Austin.
Calvin Austin his name. He's the namesake of Austintown, right?
He is the namesake of Austintown, and we thought, now what better thing to do than to name this the Austin Log Cabin in honor of Calvin Austin.
So once you found out it was a log cabin, it couldn't just be visited like that. You had to do a little bit of restoration.
3 years. It took us 3 years. We didn't pay for any labor. The labor was all volunteer, but it cost us $50,000 because we put a new furnace in, new wiring. We put a new bathroom in it and new roof. Took the old roof off and put the wood shake shingle roof on. And just, it took us 3 years to do that. And the fundraising was fun. We stopped all the traffic at Raccoon and Mahoning Avenue one Saturday. And they couldn't pass unless they gave us at least a penny in the bucket. And we had the school children donating money, and we sold necklaces and plates and used books and anything you could think of. Bake sales, we did it all just to raise the funds.
And you did, and
Yes.
then it became a place that people could visit.
Well, and it was interestingly enough that we decided we would dedicate it on the 4th of July 1976, the bicentennial United States of America. And we had never had a 4th of July parade in Austintown.
Oh, and now you have one all the time.
Yes. So what we did was we received a grant of $2,500 from the United States Bicentennial Committee, and we were a bicentennial community then. And so we thought, this is what we have to do, have a big parade. So we started down where the library is now on South Raccoon Road.
Sure.
And we came up here and we had a big dedication ceremony in the parking lot here, and we had several hundred people. And that was our very first 4th of July parade, and we continue with that today.
Why do you think the community loves this so much and has embraced it?
I don't know. It's just something that, maybe it's because it's named Austin, the Austin Log Cabin after Judge Calvin Austin. Maybe it's the fact that we have 400 third graders come through here in the spring.
And there are probably not a lot of historic sites in Austintown that have been preserved. So to have one that's so nicely done right here, where everybody drives by, Raccoon Road is busy, so they see it and they know that that's part of their history. Is that part of it, do you think, that they like?
Could be. Now, you brought up Raccoon Road. Raccoon Road was the first public road in Austintown. People in Austintown and Canfield said, we need a road to get over to the Youngstown Warren Road. So they came from Canfield, and then they came from Austintown, but they didn't quite meet. And now we have two sharp curves, and that's why we have these two sharp curves right here at South Raccoon Road.
I always wondered that. I
Yes.
always wondered why Raccoon Road
Yes,
does
that's
that.
why. And I thought, okay, so they were off a little bit. But the corners of the log cabin are not like what you usually see in a log cabin straight out. They're steeplechased. And they only made steeplechase cabins with steeplechase, and they look like a steeple all the way up until 1824. So we said, well, we'll just say it's 1814 because that's when they bought it, and they always had a, like the Amish have a barn raising. When a new person moved into a community, they would have a house raising, a cabin raising, and everyone would work together and one day get it up.
So do you know much about the families that happened in between Austin and now?
Some of them, not many. The house was vacant for 10 years. And I was out here with one of the utility companies, and a man stopped and he said, are you open for a tour? And I said, no. And he said, I grew up here. I said, we're open. And so when we came in, he said, you see this basement? And I said, yes. He said, well, we had like a little root cellar down here, just a little root cellar. And my big brother went to World War II and came home, and my big brother and my dad hand dug the basement. I, the 10-year-old, had to carry all the dirt out. I said, no wonder you remember that. And that was so special when he said that.
Yeah, that's lovely. Oh my gosh, somebody actually who lived here. That's amazing. 'Cause it just, you look at it now and you can't imagine that it was somebody's
No,
house
because
recently.
people would never know it was a cabin.
It was
Before
all covered.
Everything was covered. Many times, sometimes the outside was covered with wood and then artificial brick. And then the inside had the plaster board and everything. No one knew it was a cabin. But if you really looked in the cellar, you could see the big beams, the cross beams. But lots of old homes have the big cross beams downstairs in the basement.
So you had to dig deeper into the walls to see that it was a log cabin.
It was just amazing.
No one uses these anymore, do they? Does anybody
I hope
use
not.
these? I know, I hope not.
We have over here the wool that they shaved off of the sheep.
Ah, and then they put that through
And they
made
combed
yarn.
that wool, and they would put it through there. And when we have our 4th graders here, they all have to touch it. Oh, whoa, whoa, and I just touch it. And I'll tell them, when they shear a sheep, it's just like getting a haircut. It doesn't hurt.
Right,
And
sure.
the sheep are glad to get that off because it's very warm. And then they put the wool, somehow, I wasn't around when this was invented. Somehow, anyways, it comes out over
and it
here.
comes out like this.
And it looks like this. But when you're a person who knits and you know that you need 2 hanks of yarn to make a sweater, how do you measure it? So this is called a yarn winder. And you just wind it around, and when it becomes a hank of yarn, it pops. And the nickname for that is weasel.
Pop goes the weasel.
weasel. That's
sure.
where that comes
Never
from.
knew what that was all about. So this sort of became a collection spot for things that were from the past. In Austintown, even outside of Austintown, all have come here and landed in this little log cabin.
And we have never paid a penny for anything.
So, and then you have this, of course, is lovely. Is this
Organ.
called an organ? Okay, lovely.
And I asked if we could get it repaired, and the repairman said yes, but you'd have to come play it every week. And I thought, I think I'll pass on that.
Yeah, let's just look at it. It's nice.
But that's about the size of an organ that would come across in the covered wagon when Mom said, we're not leaving the organ at home.
Right, right.
And they had this great big discussion, and then they put it in the wagon, and that's probably the size of it. It's because it's not that big.
Right, no, it's tiny, yes. As organs go, it's tiny. So you have a table. This is probably where the table was. This is where the cooking went on, somewhere in this room. A lot of things, living and cooking. And
Right, and over here, this is a big black kettle.
Ah.
And I always ask the children when they're here, now what do you think that they cooked in this big black kettle? And after so many things of chicken and cows and all that, and I think, no, you leave those to eat later. And milk first, and eggs and all that. But maybe like squirrels, rabbits, pheasants, or whatever. And this is a nice little black kettle. Over here we have lots of things. We have a bottle capper. Years ago, you would put the bottle in here, and it could be ketchup. Because moms always had a garden right outside their back door. And they would make ketchup, cook it down, put the ketchup in, or they would make root beer. And they would put this cap on the bottles, and then they would bring this handle down, and
Make it stay.
bottle would be okay. We have cheeses here. We have soap. I want you to guess what this is.
Oh.
What came in this?
Powder? I don't know. Oh, ice cream. Teeny tiny.
Teeny tiny, and it used to have, actually I had some of this years ago, a wooden spoon, and ice cream always tasted like wooden, so I didn't like it. And we just have memorabilia, all kinds of things, but we have some maps and information. This is really important. This people called me from Pittsburgh and said, I understand you have the Austin Log Cabin, and I said yes, and they said, we have some things you need to get. So they came down, and this is Richard Austin, 1598, goes down and down and down, and then it says Calvin Austin, who was born in Connecticut. That is priceless. And then this is Calvin Austin and Martha Austin's wedding certificate.
Aw.
I found out he was buried in Warren at the Pioneer Cemetery. And so I must have called 2 or 3 people, and finally someone said it's behind the Red Cross. And of course we started on this end of the cemetery and it was way over at that end, but we did get a picture of it, and that's where Calvin Austin is.
Wow.
Yes. And this is just
Sure, the map of the Western Reserve, yeah.
map of the Western Reserve, but when you look over here, there's no Mahoning County. It's Trumbull County.
Right, for a long time it just was Trumbull.
And it was 1846 that the people in Columbus said, Trumbull County's too big, we'll make it Mahoning County, and Mahoning stands for Salt Lick.
Right, but
So-
yeah, there's the lick. It's important for them to preserve their history a little bit, right? Because if there wasn't...
Now we can go upstairs if you'd like.
Okay,
Okay.
let's do it.
We left this room as a loft for a log cabin. And over here we have a bed.
Aw, a little bed.
And it was the bed that Frank Ole, we used to have a middle school, Frank Ole Middle School.
I remember.
And that was his bed when he was a little boy.
Oh my goodness.
And this is a foot warmer. And you would put
The coals
coal
in
in
there.
it and put it on the fireplace, and then you would put it on your bed to keep your Tootsies warm.
And hopefully not burn yourself.
Right. And
Well, this
We-
is charming, but this was just a loft that wasn't, you don't think it was used as a bedroom a long time ago?
oh yes, it was.
Okay.
Yeah, oh yes.
It reminds me of when I used to watch Little House on the Prairie and the girls went up in the loft
Yes.
in their bed.
That's why we left it just like it is.
Yeah, it looks just like that.
And this is a rag rug. The woman who donated it made it when she was a little girl, and she gave it to us about 10 years ago. And right after that, she passed away, and she was 90. This is what we've designated as similar to a one-room school.
right.
The
This wouldn't have been here at the time.
no, this
But they-
is what we thought of a one-room school after we've done a lot of history on it. Now we have a coal stove over here with coal and a bucket. We have a water bucket up there. We have old desk, old books.
And are these pictures from different classes in Austintown over the years?
Yes, and this is John H. Fitch.
Oh, yes.
And John H. Fitch donated the 7 acres to build the Austintown Consolidated School, and it opened in 1916. And then he passed away. They renamed it the Austintown Fitch School.
School, which is what we knew as the high school for all
Yes,
those years?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Which is no longer.
Right, and this is a picture of the school. And at one time we had 12 one-room schools in Austintown, not open at the same time. This area would have a one-room school, but when those boys got old enough to go work in the farm, in the land, and the girls got old enough to help mama in the house, they would close that school and they would sell it.
Oh.
And somebody would move into it and convert it into a house,
Which
hence
is-
the word schoolhouse.
And you can sometimes see those around where you can tell they were a schoolhouse, but they
Right.
now are a house.
Right.
full of-
And all of this is memorabilia from the schools. Camp Fitch was named after John Fitch. He donated the land on Little Beaver Creek, and he called it Camp Fitch. And well, then they outgrew Camp Fitch.
Right.
And so they sold it, but they kept the name, and then they moved up to by Erie in Pennsylvania, and it is absolutely gorgeous.
My daughter goes every summer, so yes, we know how pretty it is.
It's beautiful.
It's a
up
great
there.
experience
Yes.
there too. So this is a really nice representation of a little one-room schoolhouse. And then what's this right here? Why are we looking up through here?
That is the attic, and it's just to show you
Okay.
that it, you know, there's boards up there and things. This is a dunce's cap, And believe it or not, when we have the third graders here, they all know what it is. So they must have been QT'd on, you know, if you're not good, you have that dunce's cap.
Which they don't do anymore in school, but they must know somehow.
And this is a chalkboard from a one-room school.
Oh.
And they would write on it, and if you would just hold this open,
okay.
all the way,
wow.
you can see that this is all the teachers needed in a one-room school, because geometry, cursive writing, more cursive writing, there's math, and all just kinds of
spelling
things.
And
it's all right here.
Measurements and
this would come out, used to come out, and I pulled it out so many times that
yeah, you don't want
I
to do that.
hesitate now to pull it out.
Where was this from?
From a one-room school.
Here in Austintown?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my. Mm-hmm. How wonderful that it was still in existence.
Right. It's just something really very special. And we have a collection of yearbooks.
Mm-hmm.
And
great.
The flag, of course.
Yes.
And then we have the cornerstone from the original Fitch building. And it was erected in 1916.
Oh my.
And here's a picture. This is where all the one-room schools were located.
I see.
And then this is the history of all the one-room schools. And we really tried to preserve that, the Fitch connection, because our school is the whole school is called Austintown Fitch.
I know, you don't want to lose that name in the middle of it.
No.
I'm sure a lot of people ask, why is that name in there? But there's a reason.
This is to scale of the log cabin.
Oh.
Built by a young lad who was a senior at Boardman.
Oh.
And he brought it over and he said, would you be interested in this? And I said, oh, yes. And he had all kinds of information on it, and it is to scale, and it is absolutely marvelous.
It is marvelous. I thought an architect did it.
And every time, maybe 3 or 4 years, he'll stop in and he'll say, I just came to see my cabin. We have speakers come to the Historical Society and speak about different things. And we invited George Shuba to come, and he came with his son to this log cabin and spoke to us, because he was the one who shook hands with Jackie Robinson, the first African-American Major League Baseball player. And he presented this to us, and he presented a big picture to us. And when Mr. Shuba passed away, maybe a year ago, I went to the calling hours, and I wanted to thank his son again for bringing his dad, because it meant so much to the dad, and it meant so much to the Historical Society. And he said, I know right where that picture is of my dad. It's upstairs at the log cabin. And I thought, you know, you just sometimes things go right.
So tell me about the windows.
The cabins that are original, and even some of the older homes, have a small window on the second floor. And they're called eyebrow windows, because of, you know, being over the eyes, eyebrow windows.
Usually 2 of them.
And they, for 2 things. One, to let light in, but in case of a fire, they would jump out that window. It'd be a landing.
A little bit of a squeeze to get out there, but yeah.
Well, but you know, they worked so hard, they were all skinny anyway, so.
Do you think it's the oldest building in Austintown existing, do you think?
I think it is. I think it is. We are blessed in Austintown. We have a second National Historic Landmark, but it's out on Mahoney Avenue, and it was built in 1830, the original part. So this was 1814. So we have a Century Home event that if you live in a house and you prove to us that it's 100 years old, we'll give you a plaque. And it'll be in the state of Ohio with your name or the name of the people who built the house, and we'll present that to you.
So history matters to people in Austintown.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Here we are. We live in Austintown. We have this wonderful cabin. We know that Judge Calvin Austin sold the property that the cabin is built on. We know that Austintown's named for him. So let's push it. This is the basement of the Austin log cabin, and
Wow, look at these beams. Oh my goodness. Big.
When we became involved with it, we wondered, how did they do a basement down here? Because there weren't basements in log cabins.
Right.
And if you would look at that beam over there, you can see that was one of the first beams put in on the ground.
Okay.
And then they would put one on the other side of the building, and then they would put two that way, and then they would just go up and up and up, and that's how they built a log cabin. They just had a little root cellar. And you can see where these beams have been trimmed off so that they're sort of straight. And when
instead of round like these.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And so when his big brother came home from World War II, the big brother and the dad dug the whole cellar out and put the cement block in. And then this 10-year-old who I was talking to, who was an older gentleman by now, carried all the dirt out bucket by bucket. And then our boys, when they went over to Salem and got all the brick, we had so much brick that our people put the brick down here in the basement. But you'll see some papers hanging around.
Yes.
And we had a Boy Scout come in, and he took pictures of everything down here, and then he went home and searched on the internet or in the encyclopedias to find out what they did.
Right.
You know, what was the purpose of this. And over here we have a grinder, and the man would sit on this seat and push the pedals, and he would grind the instruments. And so this says it's a grinding wheel, and everything in here.
This is like a stone.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
And the Boy Scout, I signed off on it, and he received his Eagle Scout.
Oh, it's a great project. Look what he did. I wonder if he's a historian.
There's about
today.
60 of them that he's done. This is a yoke, and they would put it.
Oh, you don't have to do it. Oh my God.
Ta-da! And they would carry the milk or the water or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's neat. It's neat.
And having all of this inside of the cabin actually helps as far as tours and people coming and learning more about the area and what life was like all over the centuries since it's been here. But yeah, because it's been 2 centuries that it's been here, since 1814. So if you didn't have all of these donations, it might not be quite as interesting inside.
Right, and everyone who's donated anything, they receive an official form. I fill it out and they have to sign it, and we put it in a book. They send they keep a copy for themselves, and they send the other copy to our curator, and it's in a book about this thick, everything that anyone has donated. We're on the outside of the Lost and Log cabin. This is our cutter.
A cutter?
You can see this one. The farmer would sit on this seat.
It looks a little dangerous. I don't
And
know.
it would come down, and they would cut the hay with that.
Yeah.
And then over here is a hay rake. You can see there's a seat there that's sort of not where it's supposed to be.
That's all right.
And they would have horses pull that as well as this cutter, and they would rake the hay in big piles of it, and then they'd have to make, like years ago, they would make the haystacks out of it. We have a wagon, and this is typical of the wagon that they would go to the store in. And over here, the gray building, on the other side of the wagon is a corn crib. And when the man called and said, hey, I have a corn crib, do you want it? I was visualizing a corn crib 3 times that big. And then when I went to see it, I said yes. So we had our men go over and pick it up and do all the things they had to do. But you can see that is like, you can see through it. Well, right now they would be doing, there's 2 kinds of corn, sweet corn for humans and then field corn. And they would get the field corn and put it in the corn crib, and it would stay all winter. But if they had it real tight in there, the corn would get all mushy and the animals wouldn't be able to eat it.
Okay, so what are these 2 little buildings here, the red building and the gray building?
The red building is the outhouse. And
of course it is.
That has been donated and it was put here. We think it's almost, after Dr. John White was here, we think it's almost where the original outhouse was. And that's a 3-holer, so I don't know if that meant they had a lot of children or they had a lot of money. And the building,
or maybe both.
Or maybe both. And then the building beyond that is a gray building, and it's called the Smokehouse. And that's where they would smoke the meat and things to cure it and be able to preserve it. And it's impressive to me now that the trees are gone, and you can see we have all these spotlights up, and when you come down the street from Canfield, the whole place is lit up, and we have a big spotlight in the parking lot and on the building, and it's a show place.
If you want to visit the Austin Log Cabin, it's open the first Sunday of every month from 1 to 4, no reservations. But if you want to make a reservation, you can call the number you see here. For Vision of the Valley, I'm Tricia Perry.